wanted to talk with you about is a TR command. Okay. Does anyone know the function of the TR command? Yeah, translates. Translates in what sense? Does it translate from English into Pashtun? Well, yeah, one set of characters to, so it maps from character to character. So you can say, okay, turn the character A into the character X, character B into character Y, character C into character Z. Now, we're going to be seeing later in the course some more flexible tools for doing this, but it's certainly one that affords itself a really easy use on the command line in a totally straightforward way without needing to create an additional program associated with it. So we could say, for example, let's look at the contents of one of my file here. Here's foobar, created in a burst of creativity in this very class. So here's foobar. And suppose that we wanted to translate the contents of that file so that it does exactly what I just said, namely A is translated to X, B into Y, and C into Z. Well, we could put together a command, TR here, where we could specify the sequence of characters that are going to be the source sequence. In other words, the ones describing translating from. And we're going to give the most sort of standard way to do this is, and most conceptually straightforward, is to give an equal number of target sequences. Okay? So here we have a somewhat cryptic looking line, but it basically says take the first of these, to wit A, and translate it into the first of the second sequence, X. Take the second of these, B, and map it into the second of the second set, 1. Take the third, the first set, the first sequence, and map it into the third, in Z, the second sequence. So it specifies a mapping between these two sequences of characters. And in the kind of most familiar case, or most straightforward case, they have the same way. Now there's ways to get it to map multiple characters, onto multiple source characters, onto a single output character, etc., that you can read about in the man pages for it. But this is the most obvious way. So if I want this to operate on the contents of foo, how would I do that? Just rehearsing our skills from last week and beyond. What would I type here if I wanted to take its input from foobar? If I wanted to have this mapping, this translation, as it were, operate on the contents of foobar, what would I do? Would I type one of these guys? Oh, you know what? This may be awful small for you folks, and I apologize. I will change the settings here, and I'll go to the window, and oh man, let's make this thing 18 point, boom. So what do I type, folks? I bought you a bit of time there. What do I type? Do I type that? Okay, so if I were to type this, what am I really saying? If I were to type that, and I don't know, this after, what would I be saying there? Yeah, so if we run in TR, where would it be looking for its input? Stand input, which in this case would be the console, the keyboard. So here it would be taking input from what I'm typing and doing the translation on it and then doing a word count, right? Or I could pipe it to sort, right? And so if I did that, I could do ABC, CCC, A, and I could do, X, Y, Z, and what should I see out? By the way, why aren't I seeing something already? Because sort needs all its input to do a sort, and so it's not going to be printing out incrementally. If I press, how can I tell it I'm done now? Go figure. Control D. And this is what it puts out. Okay? So this is the output here. Why is this first line before the second one? Okay, that's right. And so in short, this sequence is sorted. Remember we told it to sort, right? Whatever comes out of this guy is sorted. And it's been waiting. It's been being past each successive thing and waiting to the end to sort them all. And it turns out the second thing I typed led to an output which was lexicographic. In other words, in terms of the character ordering, it occurs before the translation of this guy. What is this guy here? This is the translation of this guy that I typed in, right? If I want to see it appearing, ladies and gentlemen, if I want to see it appearing all along, I could give it to unique, for example. I could give it to cat also, true. And then if I did that same thing, what would I see now? Nothing yet. How about now? Okay, still nothing. And then okay, it's actually not putting it to the end. I wouldn't have expected that. But here it sorts. It takes unique of each successive one of the translations. Okay, so this translation is translating along, and each successive line is passed along. Okay, so if I wanted this thing to come from the file foobar, how would I do that? I wouldn't use this because that's to pass it to another command. I would use less than, right? Foobar. There we go. I'll present to you the contents of foobar and all their glory, their original glory. And so here we have the translated version of foobar. So here's the contents of foobar. Here I told translate to operate, perform this mapping. A go to X, B go to Y, C go to Z on foobar. And this is the output. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. TR is a useful command. It's one that you might use day to day, and it's one that that can be very handy. Like if you're operating with a file from Windows on Linux and you want to strip out some extra characters for each line, new line. It has not just a character term, but as a line key. You can do it with this, etc. Okay, so it's useful. Yeah.
How would you input if you wanted to bring say D into a space?
Okay, so it's a good question. So if I wanted to turn B into a space, something like that, right? Anyone want to comment on that? So we talked about this actually very briefly, but I didn't really emphasize this previously. So when we type a command in Linux, this is a good review. We type a command in Linux. Does that command get executed immediately? No. What happens before it gets executed? Okay, it has to look up a lot. It goes through a set of steps. Remember we talked about them at one point? One of them is it looks up aliases. So if you say it's ls defined to be something different. Another thing it does is it expands things like path, right? And it turns that into its corresponding value. You've seen that before. How if I wanted to prevent that from happening? And there's a bunch of other things it does as well. It turns, if you do ls, foo star, it tries to match everything that begins with foo. It figures out what those are and then tells ls, do it on ls foobar, ls foo, ls, foobaz, or something like that. These are all the files that are expanded from this. So it goes through several sequences. How if I wanted to prevent that? How if I wanted to actually see if there's a file called, or give it something like this? I could put quotes. Okay. Well, I should prevent it. So, naive way of doing this, to address your question, naive way of doing this would be to say, suppose we wanted to translate it, you know, to a space. So x space z. What's going to happen here? It says, I don't know what to do with that z. It's an extra thing. So, what's that? Okay, so there's a backslash character which marks unusual things. That's a good idea. So let's try that. Aha, good call. So that's one way to do it. Turns out there's another way to propose, which I'll leave it to the audience to figure out, perhaps this afternoon. Okay, so that's something about command line processing and TR. This afternoon you get to play around with a lot of other files. If you wanted to find out more about how TR works, what would I do? Yeah, I could just man it, right? Man TR, and I'll have a lot of additional information. You notice you specify a sequence 1, a sequence 2, etc. And you can have it translate everything but the characters in the sequence and all this. Okay, so those are some comments that should put you in good stead, both for potentially for midterm exam, but also for for this afternoon's lab. Okay, so good. So this is.